All right, students, there's a few more short story terms. There's a lot more short story terms that you probably should be familiar with, but these are the ones you're expected to know for this unit. These are just other key terms that are not included in those other categories. First of all, let's just talk for a second about short story. The actual definition, I'd like you to know that it's a short prose fiction, and it's usually only depicting one single event. Like novels would have many, many, many events that all come together to one giant climax. One thing you might not know is that the short story is a newer form of writing than the novel. So novels were around much longer than short stories. So short stories are fairly recent. We're talking 1800s when they were starting to be written a lot. A genre is the form or category of literature, okay? So it might be a comedy, it might be fantasy, it might be historical fiction, it might be religious, it might be suspenseful, it might be mystery. All those are genre. That's how you say that, genre. It's kind of a weird spelling for genre, probably French. An important key term that we like to see and use in all kinds of storytelling is flashback. And a flashback is an interruption in, say you have a story that's going along and the story's being told, and then all of a sudden there's this interruption in that sequence. And it flashes back. Now, it's just not doing that to fill up space. It's usually, or it will have a reason why that flashback. So something is flashing back, showing why a certain character is acting a certain way, or believes a certain thing, or has a tendency to do certain things because of something that happened to them earlier. And that's a key term, and often it helps drive and helps us understand the way a character is or is acting the way that they are. Theme often gets confused with main idea, stuff like that, but a theme has a main purpose. That is what the critical belief about life that the author is trying to give us, all right? And it's usually very universal in nature, okay, meaning that it fits in with a bigger picture, okay, the big idea, and it touches on what it's like to be human, our human experience. A motif is something that a type of character or a story that gets retold, a recurring object or structure of a story. An example that it shows here is Cinderella. Of course, the poor, mistreated, beautiful young girl. She's rescued by a dashing prince, right? We often hear that said. This is a Cinderella story. So something that comes from rag to riches, and in the process is, life becomes better for that person. That's a big one. And there's lots of motifs, lots of different things that can be considered a motif that we see in literature and movies that we watch. A symbol is something that suggests more than its literal meaning. I actually love the old Batman Begins. There's a particular scene in there where he's told to carry this blue flower to the top of the hill. And when he gets up to the top, he has this blue flower and he's trained. It isn't till later that you realize that this blue flower has some kind of psychoactive element when it's crushed up and powdered, and they blow it into his face. And then later on it's used to make the entire city of Gotham kind of lose their mind. And that symbol of that blue flower is kind of the symbol of chaos, right? It's the symbol of people's fears and things like that. And it's a great part of that movie that I'm not sure everybody catches it the first time they watch it. Setting is the time and place of the story. So where is it taking place? What time? That would include what time of day, but also more importantly, what time in the history of the world. Is it past, present, future? All of these things matter, and it helps to drive the story. The tone is the feeling that the author is trying to express. So either they're extremely happy or excited, or they're telling about a tragedy. And so that's the feeling we get as we read that story. And the last term I want you to know is irony. And this is when how a person or a situation comes out much different than what you would, or it's actually much different than what it would actually seem. And so there's what we call, situational irony, and that's one that I love, where we as the readers can see, but the character is making comments that just don't fit with the reality that we see as the readers or the people watching the movie or people watching the play. And so irony makes a big part of storytelling. Anyway, those are your last terms for this unit on short story.